Hey there, Stampers. Happy Friday. Welcome to another Facebook Live. I'm actually just going to bring you up on my iPad so that I can see your comments. Be sure to say hi when you join us. Here we go. Good morning, Mary Liz. All right, so how's everybody doing today? I'm excited to be here today with you. We are going to use the Sailing Home stamp set, but we're going to use, good morning Christine, good morning Kim, we're going to use completely different colors than what's in the Come Sail Away With Me bundle, so I'm excited to share with you. We're doing some collage stamping, we're doing a fun fold, so got lots of stuff going on today. But like always, actually let me introduce myself in case there's anybody new that joins us or watches the replay. My name is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Sherwood Park, Alberta. And every Friday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, I do a live crafting show. You always have the opportunity to win that week's project the following week. So last week we created this beautiful shimmery butterfly card. You can find the replay on my website at stamptreasures.com or on YouTube. So the way you get entered is, good morning Shauna, the way you get entered is you can comment on the live or the replay. You have a week to comment, or you can comment on YouTube as well. If you share the video, you get 1 entry for each comment. If you share the video, you get 5 entries. So thank you everyone who shares, I appreciate that. The more love that we can spread for stamping, the better. So I've got everybody's name in here who commented or shared the video from last week. And the winner is, oh, Lisa Johnson. I think, if I remember correctly, I think she's from, I want to say Wisconsin, somewhere in the States. So I will set that aside and get her contact information so I can pop that in the mail for her. All right, I am going to go ahead and flip the camera around and we'll get started with the fun stuff. Okay, let's see how that looks. There's quite a few shadows. Let's do this. Okay. I think that'll be okay. All right. Okay, so let's see here. First of all, before we go into the project, like I said, we are going to use the Sailing Home stamp set. Now this is part of a suite that is in the annual catalog. So there's paper, there's framelits that coordinate with it, there is some little trinkets that go along with it. What else? There's an embossing folder, there's a whole page full of product that coordinates. But I was looking online and I noticed that so many of the samples use the color combination from the DSP, and it's a fabulous color combination. There's like balmy blue, night of navy, mossy meadow, Sahara sand. So I mean, that's a great color combination and it's perfectly suited for a nautical kind of theme. But I decided to play around with a different color scheme today. So the colors that we are working with today are Coastal Cabana, Bermuda Bay, and Gray Granite, and then I threw in just a touch of soft suede as well. So we're going to use a completely different color palette. So, and I quite like how it turned out. All right. Okay, so here is the card here. Getting a bit of glare. I'm trying to figure out how we can do this so that it's not as bad. Okay, so this is the card here. So we're going to do some collage stamping, but it's actually a fun fold. It's an easel, a version of an easel fold. So can you guys see that? So that's what it looks like from the side. All right, And it is so simple. You do need a lot of pieces, but it's super simple to create. Okay, now let's see, where are my pieces here? There we go. Okay, so we're gonna start with a piece of, yeah, the colors are very fresh, aren't they? Okay, we're gonna start with a piece of Bermuda Bay that measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So this is a standard size card base, except we're using a 1/4 sheet. So we're not gonna have any fold in the base itself, okay? And then this piece is going to get layered on top. So this piece is Coastal Cabana 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And we need a piece of Whisper White that measures 4 by 5 1/4. And then a piece of Bermuda Bay, so whatever your base color is, this measures 3 inches by 6 1/4. And we're gonna score this. So I'm gonna bring in my trimmer, and I am going to score it along the 6 1/4 inch side. I'm gonna score it at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. Okay. All right, so now I'm gonna fold along both those score lines. Use my bone folder to make them nice and crisp. Okay, and just to give you guys a heads up, you probably have noticed that I've sponged all the edges for all of these pieces. So I went ahead and did that just so you wouldn't have to watch me sponge so much, and I sponged them in the gray granite, okay? All right, so now to assemble our base, what we're gonna do is along this, I don't know, it's maybe 3/4 of an inch side, we are going to add adhesive, and I'm gonna add quite a bit of adhesive, just because this is the piece that's going to be mobile. It's the one that has motion. Good morning, Shirley. And then I'm gonna fold it down so that the adhesive side is down. And then my base, I'm gonna position it in the center and line up that fold with the top of the card. So it should be even along the bottom, and it should be even along the top, okay? So that is the basic mechanism for the card itself. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, we're gonna finish up the base. So I'm gonna take my Coastal Cabana cardstock, and actually let's add the white first. So when I'm adding layers, I always try to add the smallest layer to the next layer, and then work my way down, because that way if anything needs to be trimmed, I have the opportunity to trim it. So if I had stuck the Coastal Cabana onto the Bermuda Bay, and then the white onto the Coastal Cabana, and the Coastal Cabana needed to be trimmed, then I wouldn't have the opportunity to trim it. So I always work my way from the top down. Okay, so now I'm sticking this on here so that I've got an even border all the way around. And you can see that now these layers cover that seam that was there. Good morning, Anna. All right, so it looks like it's all one piece. I mean, unless you look closely, but it looks like it's all one piece. Okay, so now we're gonna work on our focal point. So I have got another piece of Whisper White. This piece measures 2 5/8 by 5 1/8. And this is where we're gonna do our collage stamping. So I'm just gonna bring in a scrap and bring in my inks. So I've got soft suede, gray granite. I want you guys to be able to see me here, so let's put them down the side. Coastal Cabana and Bermuda Bay. And what I like to do is I like to put my stamps that I'm using on the colors that I'm using. So I'm using the birds from that Sailing Home stamp set in soft suede. I'm using the compass, and I'll put it on with north facing up. I'm doing that in Bermuda Bay. The anchor is in Coastal Cabana. and the rope is in gray granite. So I put all my stamps where on the colors that I need them. That way there's no mixing them up. And let's start with the biggest image. And I will do some stamped on, some stamped off. And I'm just kind of doing it randomly. I'm not over, I was gonna say I'm not over in different directions. Okay, so we'll start with that. I can always go back and add more. And then I'm gonna go to my next biggest image, which is the compass. This one I'm gonna do full strength for all of them. Okay, and then I'm gonna go in with the anchor. Let's do one that's stamped off. Okay, I think that's good for now. Now I'm gonna go in with the birds and just add some birds in here. And you can see that I'm stamping over some images as well. Shirley, are you still here? If you're here, have you ever done collage stamping? Because I know that you have a hard time with random. I was wondering if you did, if you've ever tried this. Okay, so I'm gonna come back in here and do, actually not with that, I'm gonna do it with the compass and just add a little bit more here. So anywhere where there's kind of a little bit too much white space, I'm going to add a little bit more. I think that's fine. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my sponge in my gray granite, so in the lighter color, sponge around the edges. And I find this just softens the look, gives it a bit of an aged look, because this does kind of give it a bit of a vintage feel. I mean, the colors may not be very vintagey colors, but gives it a bit of a vintagey feel, and it kind of brings everything in to the image, or to the cardstock. Okay, so we've got that. All right. Okay, let's move these out of the way. You're gonna need the brown. Okay, we're gonna do all our stamping first, and then we'll finish assembling. Okay, so now I am going to, I've pre-cut 2 of the stitch nested labels. So you guys know, I've used these all the time. You guys know these are one of my favorite label sets, or label dies. So I've got the 4th smallest and the 6th smallest. The 4th smallest, I've gone ahead and stamped the greeting for the inside of the card. So I'll set that aside. But for the outside, I'm going to use the stamp set Perennial Birthday. And I'm gonna use this Happy Birthday. I love this Happy Birthday. I love the font, I love the size, but I don't want it to go all the way across. I want it to be on 2 lines. So I'm going to take it, and the first thing I'm gonna do is huff on it and stamp off on my scrap. Okay, so you can see that there's a bit of ghosting there. So I'm just gonna do that several more times to make sure that there's no residue left for when I stamp, because I'm going to stamp one word at a time, and I don't want you to be able to see the shadowing of the word that I don't want to stamp. Okay, so I'm going to start with birthday. So I'm going to look, let's see, I'll bring this in closer. I'm going to look where the B starts and kind of line that up with the edge of the ink pad and just ink up the word birthday. So if you have the Stampin' Right markers, you can use the Stampin' Right markers as well. Okay, now I'm going to, I apologize if I'm off camera here. I just have to bring it a little closer to me. I'm going to line it up where I want it, and I'm hoping it's straight. Okay, that looks good. And now I'm going to clean this. And when I clean my stamps, I always like to stamp off as much as I can first before I clean it. It keeps your scrub cleaner longer. Yes, Mary Liz, oh, this isn't my cleaner, what am I doing? You can definitely use tape as well to cover it over. This is an easy enough one, like there's enough of a space that it's easy enough to just kind of eyeball it and not ink up the word, the part of the stamp that you don't want. Okay, and then I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna bring this in. I wanna make sure that there's no shadowing, because when I stamp my happy, I don't want that bee to show up. I do find with our new chamois that it cleans the stamps a lot better. You don't get a ton of shadowing like you did, or ghosting like you did with the old cleaner. Okay, so now I'm gonna look at where the Y is, and I'm going to ink from the Y back to the H. Just make sure I didn't ink anything else, and I'm good. So, okay, so now I want to line up my Y's. So I want the Y from the happy to be above the Y from the birthday. And again, I'm just kind of looking at where the Y is and positioning it here. And again, you just hold your breath and hope that it's straight. The Stamparatus would be great for this as well, but you know what? It's close, it's close. I'm happy with that. The Stamparatus, you'd be able to get it perfect with the Stamparatus. I was just lazy this morning. I didn't want to bring out my Stamparatus. Okay, all right, so now what we're going to do is, let me think here. We are going to put this on here. So this piece is another piece of Coastal Cabana. It measures 2 7/8 by 5 3/8. Just gonna add a little bit of adhesive so you can see that there's lots of pieces to this card, but it's not a difficult card or a difficult fold to do at all. All right, and then this piece is going to get attached to this bottom portion. So you can put adhesive along the bottom here. I find it easier to just put adhesive where this fold is and not go right up to the edge. Oh, before I do that, I forgot a step. What we want to do is, because I need to trim this, I want it to line up with the edge of the Coastal Cabana, not with the edge of the Bermuda Bay. So what I'm gonna do, okay, now there's two things that you could do it like this, right? But you'll see that if I pull in the original card, I found this to be just a bit overwhelming. Actually, you know what? Now that I see it, it doesn't look too bad. But I wanted to soften it a little bit, so I added a layer of vellum. So we're gonna do that first before we add our greeting. So I've got a piece of vellum that measures 2 3/8 by 4 7/8. And I'm going to strategically add adhesive just where the vellum will go, or where the greeting will go, sorry. So not at the top. And then center that vellum. And you'll see that the vellum is not exactly the same size. I wanted it to be soft in the middle, but then have a little bit more detail, would be a little bit darker around the edges. All right, so now I'm going to use dimensionals to stick this on. So I'll just find where the edge is and add a couple here. Peel off the backing, and then I will trim. Okay, so we want it to go about like that. Is that straight? Looks pretty straight. All right. And then I forgot to grab scissors. Okay, I find when you trim like this, you can use your paper cutter, but I find long-handled scissors or long-bladed scissors work really well. And look at these ones. Love the plaid. My friend got them from Target in the States, brought them back for me. All right, so now I'm gonna take this piece and, oh, let's just do the sponging on this edge since we trimmed that edge off. Because remember, I had pre-sponged almost all of my pieces. Okay, so now center that all the way around. Okay, so now we need a way for it to stand up. So it looks great closed, but we need somewhere or some way for it to stand up and to make it an easel. So that's where our greeting will come in. And yeah, I did sponge around that. So I'm gonna pop this up using dimensionals. If you guys really like this set, my next card class is my Come Sail Away card class on August 8th. We'll be creating 4 cards using that suite. I can show you 3 of the cards, which were all inspired by swaps that I received. I just made some slight changes to each of them to make them my own and make them a little bit simpler for some of them for a card class. All right, so now we've got our way to stand it up. And I thought that this needed a little something. So then I went back to the suite, the Come Sail Away suite, and we've got these trinkets. So there is a wheel from a sailboat, or from a boat, and then an anchor. So I decided to use the wheel. I'm just gonna use a mini glue dot to stick that on. Oops. Add that up here, and then I wanted to add a bit of twine as well. So I'm going to use another mini glue dot. I've got a bow that I've tied from some linen thread, and I'm going to add that to the center of my wheel, and there we go, the card is done. Isn't it cute? But you know what I did? Look at this. I wanted to tie in the collage stamping. Look what I did with the envelope flap. Doesn't that look cool? I love how it turned out. So the recipient, you put the card in there and the recipient will get a little peek at what's inside just from the envelope flap. Isn't that fun? All right, so the cards, I had mentioned that I would show you guys. So these are 3 of the 4 cards that we'll be making at class. I will post a link in when I post this, I'll post a link above if you guys want more details on the class. But these are 3 of the cards. So this was inspired by a card that Brett made and sent. I just simplified it a little bit. Her swap was beautiful. This was inspired by another swap I got, and I don't remember who it was from. And then this one as well. I didn't jot down the names. So those are 3 of the 4 cards. So again, this is gonna be another great masculine card class. So that's August 8th. The class is at 9:30 in the morning or 7 p.m. You have a choice of which class to come to, and you can also get the kit by purchasing an order of $35 online using a specific host code. So like I said, I'll post the information for all that in the details above. All right, or if you're watching the replay on YouTube, it'll be below. All right, so I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you live next Friday. Take care.